welcome back to our channel. It is Sonia Miller here. We've got a special edition of our vlog today because Matt will be here with us cooking, doing what he does best. So I am excited. I can hear him over there opening, tasting spices, doing all those fine things. And if we had smell-o-vision right now, you could already smell the spices that he's putting together to make a beautiful meal. So this is going to be a special meal for Mom and Dad at the end of the day. We're here in Newfoundland. Matt, what is on the menu today?
Sauerbraten.
What is that?
Pot roast.
Pot roast.
Yeah.
Is that for real? Is that really a name?
Yeah, it's a German name, Sauerbraten, roast beef.
Okay, my dad's never going to eat anything that's called Sauerbraten, okay?
Your father had a problem with sauerkraut.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, he...
Okay, all right. let's get this vlog going, all right?
That's a story for another time, I guess.
Okay, let's just get going. Okay, well, when you said the word Sauerbraten, I was a little bit disturbed for a second because this is looking colorful and pretty. There's nothing like awful that comes with the word Sauerbraten.
It's just pot roast, right?
Pot roast, right?
Yeah.
So what do you got in here?
Traditional German Sauerbraten, they throw tomatoes in it too. I kind of stick to, because my people from the mountains, we have Jägerbraten, which is hunter's beef, right? So everything starts with Jaeger, Hunter, where I come from. So this is just basically celery, onion, carrot, mushrooms, some garlic cloves, salt and pepper, and I'm gonna add some beer to it just to...
No, you're gonna drink the beer.
No, I'm gonna add...
I knew it's not...
Don't get the label, we're not sponsored.
I knew that wasn't your beer because, you know what, it's not even the kind of beer you drink,
no,
right?
No.
Yes.
This is what we call in German.
Yeah?
Pipi-Wasser.
Pipi-Wasser. Oh,
yeah, pea water.
This is what I put up with people. These are the natural conversations around my house. So why do you do beer in here, not like water or something?
Beer's more flavorful. Think about it.
Okay.
You got wheat, and you got the hops, and you got the yeast, and it's actually, it's seasoning in itself, and the alcohol helps break down the veg a little bit. But what's going to happen is I just put that in for the moisture, right? Because I'm going to roast this probably open-faced at about 375 for about an hour. Okay. And what's going to happen is of course these are going to brown and crisp and get all that. And then the beer is going to absorb a lot of that flavor. You're going to get juices coming off here. That's going to be the basis for the gravy. So...
Gravy. I'm on board now.
Yeah, so once I get past that hour at fairly high heat, I'm going to back down to around 300, 325. Okay. And probably cover it and let it go for 2 or 3 hours till it's about ready to fall apart. Mm-hmm. So, and then when you get done with this, there's 2 ways you could do it. You could actually take all that liquid and puree it into a gravy by itself, but I like keeping the veg and eating the veg separate. So I'm gonna drain off juices, make a nice gravy out of it, and we'll have the veg as a side. Okay? Yep. 2 of these are the same. These are cross rib roasts, and this is just a rump roast because they're in. So you can use anything. You can use sirloin, you can use a rump, you can use London broil, you can use, whatever cut you chuck roast, whatever cut you want, because it's all going to perform the same with the same cooking technique. Because usually tougher cuts of meat, you like to say low and slow, right? But I'm going to show you something here real quick that kind of annoys me. If you're lucky enough to live somewhere where you have your own butcher, and he's a good butcher, he will take care of this.
This is our view today, by the way.
Yeah, rainy.
Rainy kind of day. All right.
Back in day.
Yeah, let's go back to the meat view.
Okay, so anyways, this right here, this is called silver skin. This is not fat. This is just a connective tissue, a membrane, that I hate. And when I'm running a kitchen and when I've worked in the restaurant business, even your filet mignons come with this. And a lot of people say, why don't my filet mignon, why are they tough whenever I cook them at home? Because you have to cut this off. Because it adds no flavor. Really? It serves no purpose.
I always thought fat was a good thing. Like
this is this is not fat. This is not fat.
This is connective tissue.
This is just connective tissue. And actually it just shaves, if you see, right off here. So back in the day when everybody had their neighborhood butcher, he would he would take care of most of this stuff. But now, you know, in, you know, supermarkets and everything else, they get most of it, but they're not as concerned because they're concerned with output rather than, you know, they don't have the time to do the quality cut.
So like for all those mothers that are cooking this tonight, this is one more thing to add to your list of things you do, nurse and doctor and all that stuff. Now you are actual butcher. The butcher. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So this job is now yours.
So yeah, you see this. This actually, yeah, and this doesn't go anywhere. This is just the extra gristle. It's on your plate at the end of the night, you know, or people are trying to work around it when they're eating. Yep. So, you know, it usually shaves right along the meat line, kind of like the hairline. As you can see there, it's like coming out, and it's nothing
but it's coming out nice and clean.
Yeah, it comes out really clean. You got a good looking. Now I'm using your mother's knife, and
yes, this is not Matt's usual knife.
And this thing is like, I'm trying.
Me with my art supplies is probably like Matt with his
cooking utensils.
Yeah, there's just certain tools that do the job, right?
Yeah, and my knives are.
Every artist has their own tools.
I keep them very.
You used to have a an actual, what do you call it, toolbox.
Yeah,
that you would
still
store
have it.
All your
just like a mechanic. Yeah, I mean, and if you look, a lot of you know, chefs and apprentices and cooks, they have what's called a knife roll, and it's where they have you know, they keep their knives and their stuff they like to work with.
Yeah, that looks good. That's a good piece. That's a good looking piece of meat right there.
So this stuff here,
dang, yes,
you can cut it up real fine, give it to the animals for a treat if they like that.
Yep.
So now we got this fairly cleaned out. You know, stuff like this, like this tissue right here, that's thin enough where this little membrane here, while it's still tough, it's gonna cook off, right? It's gonna break down, right? And then you got stuff like this where it's inside the meat. This is a perfect example of classic silver skin. It has that sheen to it.
Yeah.
So this is kind of in here. I mean, if I was really going to be super particular, which I'm going to be right now for demonstration purposes, you know, see how that all came off? Now that's a good bite of meat right there, but like I said, you know, you can trim this up. Yeah, take that off.
That's a treat for the cook later.
Scooby snack, right? So anyway, so you see how tough that is. A good. The one portion came off, but now you're left with this. So this looks like edible meat, and actually is just part of the silver skin. So yeah, it's a little getting used to your mom's knives here. So it'll come right off, even basic, you know, portions of the meat. Looks like meat on the other side, but actually it wasn't. So that's one of those things where you'd sit there and chew and chew and chew and chew. You might want to catch that, I kind of. But yeah, so you got a nice little chunk of meat, and we just throw it in here.
Woohoo! Hot roast is coming together.
Yeah, so you do this. Okay. This is another thing that annoys me when you get things from a supermarket. There's often reasons you truss roasts together because usually there are several different cuts of meat, like from like with a fillet you have what's called the Chateaubriand, and it's 3 different muscles coming to the top connector of the meat, and you truss it with butcher's twine. But to be honest with you, 90% of the butcher's twine that you get is just for show, and you don't need it. And it's just a pain in the butt. And, you know, if you're not looking to, this type of roast, you don't want to slice it down like that anyways. This is a break apart like roast beef. It's not like, you know, actual, you know, good London broiler or whatever, you know. And plus, anyhow, with those, like a prime rib and stuff like that, you're only cooking medium anyway, so. So this has a big old hunk here. A lot of people would say that's fat. That's actually, if you see, the fat's been scraped off and removed there. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna go on a little adventure with our knife. A little piece of garlic skin there. So, and as you can see, as we work it, you You can see where it's starting to separate.
Yeah, I can smell that garlic. It's so good.
Yep, absolutely.
You were smashing cloves of garlic earlier.
Yes.
You didn't even cut it. You just smashed it.
You just smash it. I'm throwing it in whole. I want the flavor.
I'll show you guys right here.
Yeah, oh, right there. Yeah. I want the flavor.
Hulk smash.
I want the flavor, but I don't necessarily, you know, I'll eat a clove of garlic, but a lot of people won't eat a whole clove of garlic, right?
I will eat a clove of garlic.
Yeah, I know you will too.
Especially, it's good for vampires.
Especially when it's roasted, you know, and I'll show you the whole secrets to roast.
We'll have to do a whole
on garlic by itself, right? So I'm just getting in here, and I'm just rough cutting this, and I'll clean it up here when I get down. So you can see all this connective tissue. Now there's a little bit of fat down along the meat itself, but you can see underneath it that's all silver skin. So I'm getting around it here like so.
What's amazing is that we paid for that.
Yeah, you pay for it. It's extra. It's probably, once I get done cutting it, it's that's a good 3 ounces there. Yeah.
Yep.
Alright, so I've trimmed my meat. I've got, you know, as much stuff as off as I want. There's certain things here that you have. It's like the artery and stuff like that. It's gristle. You can see there's a little bit of marbling. There's not magnificent marbling, which is why this is going to cook a long time, because there's a lot of muscle tissue in here, and it's not as tender as when it's rippled with fat and flavor. So this is probably a good, I'm gonna say a good pound of wastage here that you're trimming off your meats. Okay. So the next thing is, what we're gonna do is we are going to, let me wash my hands real quick. We're cleaned up. I'm gonna do this whether I'm going to roast or sear and roast or whatever I'm gonna do. So if I kind of wanted to keep this whole and keep this really juicy, this meat does not really lend itself to it, but let's say it's a prime rib or whatever. I'm always going to salt, and then I would take it and I would sear it in a pan, brown all the sides, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take these pieces here. And you do this no matter, because next step people go, oh, why do you do this? It's just going to knock off. Well, the reason I'm going to do this is I'm going to salt this. I'm going to salt this fairly well. Because what this is going to do is going to draw the surface moisture out. It's also going to season. It's going to suck into the meat a little bit. So I'm going to do that with salt, and then I'm going to pepper it as well to get it ready for the next step. I usually just salt it and pepper it when I go to brown it if I'm going for a whole cut. So anyways, here, so we're gonna do this, salt. So if you get a little bit too much here, all you do is rub it out and it moves around your meat. But don't be scared of getting too much salt on it, because you want this, because a lot of it's gonna render out, and it's going to help season your vegetable. There's a little piece of silver skin hiding there. So, anyways, we're going to take this, salt and pepper. Well seasoned is the secret to restaurant quality food. One thing I see when people like whip out soy sauce and stuff like that when they're barbecuing, tons of like seasoning salts and things like that. If you're going to use that stuff, use it afterwards. Don't use it in the cooking process, because it really throws the entire process off kilter as far as flavors and things like that. Because sometimes in spices, when they heat up, they have volatile oils in them, and they'll become bitter, or they'll become this or that, like garlic and things like that. So just go with salt and pepper, and if you want to season with that stuff, season with it afterwards. If you have to go to the grill with Montreal steak seasoning or something else, get your recipe down where you're confident with it, and do it every time. Don't just do it once. You have to be consistent.
So what are you doing right now?
So in here, I'm gonna put this on as kind of a, in low dry heat, we're gonna put a bark on this meat, right? So if we're gonna be here for like 6-7 hours of really slow roasting, a lot of restaurant meats have a real nice crust on it, right? And it's that salty, you know, sweet, bittery, you know, the kind of the umami of Western cooking taste, right? So all I did in this is, and you can use Worcestershire sauce, you can use whatever combination you like. I'm here, so my options are limited here in the North Atlantic. So all I did was take Dijon mustard, probably 3/4 a cup of Dijon mustard, and probably 3/4 a cup of A1 steak sauce, and mixed it up. And all I am gonna do is I'm gonna take some of it and put it on here like so, and we're just gonna rub it into the meat. We're gonna massage it. We're taking our meat to the spa for a nice spa day. Yep. So I got the one side here, and I'm just gonna see. This is where we get messy, right?
This is Matt getting creative in the kitchen.
Yeah. So what happens is that salt, as you rub it, you can feel the salt has pretty much dissolved, and it's either gone into the meat or it's going to become a mixture with this, right? So what happens is this will dry on top, and it will darken and brown or even blacken, and it'll create a really cool flavored bark on top of the meat. So yeah, I like to flavor. I like to. Usually I'd have a brush, but since I don't have a brush, I'm like improvising. You know, we're at 375, and what that's going to do is going to, you know, darken some of this veg, you know, give a little bit of a browning and char to them.
Right.
And then the meat is going to, you know, that crust is going to, I'm going to have it uncovered. So there's going to be a crust starting on the meat. Okay, so because it's open to dry heat, right? So think of it kind of like a grill effect where it's, you know, left open to the heat. So I just want to see here where I can get my best. Where you're going to have some crispy edges, you know what I'm saying? You know, the different textures are going to form here. So that's what we have right now. So we have that in there. And the juices are going to go down in the veg, and that's what we're going to create our gravy off of. So anybody that's ever worked in a kitchen, whether, you know, as a server or a cook or, you know, a prep chef or whatever you have, you know, prep cook, they'll tell you that in the kitchen we deal with approximates. We don't deal in absolutes because every piece of equipment's different. 375 in a stove right beside another stove at 375 might be totally different because calibration does go off in things. So plus with gas heat and electric heat, you have different kind of humidity, where you're at, things like that. So there's a lot of variables. So I say 1 hour. I'm going to put this in. I'm going to check this in a half an hour to see its progress, and then I'm going to see if I want to leave it in for 45 minutes, an hour, maybe an hour 15 at fairly high heat at 375 before backing it off and letting it go for several hours at 325 to 300. But I will get that judge there. Sonia will tell you that our kitchen at home, the oven's on a constant 400 degrees, just like in the kitchen. And that's what I cook at, 400 degrees. I don't cook at 325. I don't cook at 275. One thing you do is, after you've been doing this a while, you don't really pay attention to recipes or directions unless you're working in a bakery where you're dealing with a little more absolute, but even then you learn how to fudge things a little bit. So the most hated question you get in the kitchen as a professional cook or chef is how long till it's done? When it's done. That's the answer, when it's done, because you never know, because there's a lot of variables to deal with it. So we're going to take this bad boy. He's probably about 20 pounds. No, I'd say he's about, honestly, he's about 8 to 10 pounds. So we throw it into Valerie's amazingly clean oven. I've never seen an oven that clean. This oven's been here for
I know, my mom loves to clean.
Yeah.
So
her mother's a cleaner.
$3.75?
Yep. Okay. So it's been roughly 30 minutes.
Okay.
It might have been a little bit longer. But what we're going to do is we're going to check this to see how it's progressing. So I'm going to grab it. This is in the 375.
This looks amazing.
So as you can see, it's really cooked down. You got a little bit of browning crust here. You know, it's adhered, so it's going to have a nice flavor layer. Everything else has gone into the veg, what you have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce this heat. I'm going to cover it up. I'm going to let it go for 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours.
Do you have to add any more like water or juice?
No, not at all. You don't have to. So now we have purely the juice from the beef and the beer mixed together, and that's going to be your base. So what we'll do is we'll boil some potatoes at the end, make some mashed potatoes, get this gravy reduced down, and we'll be ready to go.
Wow.
Alright?
Yep. Alright, looks a little bit done since the last time we were on.
Yeah, so what I did was I baked this at about 275 to 300 variable temperature. The closer I got, I backed it off. But this is the deal. When you go hard at 375 for the first 40 minutes, in a smoker this turns into a hard bark. Here it turns into like a seal. Not only the flavor, it's thick. But what happens is when you don't sear your meat, it usually all the juices go out like here. But when you seal the meat with that instead of searing it, you get the same function of juicy meat because this acts like a flavor sealer. So when you can take your fork and do this. There you go, Sonia. It's hot, but it's juicy. It's tender. You didn't lose any of the.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So we're just pulling the meat out here. I probably should have pulled it out and then pulled it apart, but I was excited to show you guys.
You know what I'm excited about?
What?
Getting to eat it.
Okay. So what I'm about to show you now is just how to turn all this goodness into gravy here. A lot of people have different things. They do rice or flour and roux, and I'll show you the super simple, easy way that most professional kitchens do it, just to get it done and out of the way, rather than waiting all this time to. So I'll put the veg in a different.
Veg goes in separate.
Yeah. Well, I can do that, or I can throw it all together. But since we're going to be making sandwiches.
Yep.
So, like I said, you can take a submersion blender or throw this all in a food processor and process the juice together with the veg to make a thick sauce. I'm not a big proponent of that because I just like the flavor of the drippings kind of au naturel and as little added to it as possible. It's pretty much cleaned out here. So what we're going to do
Look, there's one carrot right there. Can't
a,
leave him back.
Where's he at? Oh, he's there. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're just going to turn this down to a holding temperature, probably around, let's say 175.
Okay.
Alright, and I'm just going to throw this bad boy in there like so. Just throw this in here. It's pretty close where it needs to be now. It has a little bit of the sweetness from the A1 and the tomato in the A1. Believe it or not, A1 uses raisin juice. Who knew you could juice a raisin, right?
I did not.
I did not either. Grab a spoon, stir it up, get So I just take a glass with water. Cornstarch is the most wonderful thing in the world. If you have a thickening, you don't want to spend time making a roux. I got a little bit too much water there. It's easy to work with. All you do is bring it to a boil and leave it at a boil. I always work with about a tablespoon, so you're using just your standard like kitchen spoons. So usually about 2 heaping helpings of that is usually a little over a teaspoon, but right around there. Remember, when you're cooking in real life, you're not usually going off of recipes, so to speak. You're going off approximate because who has time to measure, right? And so the important thing about cornstarch is you want to add it right before it goes to a boil, or else it's going to thicken up and it's going to have these nasty, like slimy little coagulation going on, right? And then you want to bring it to a boil to cook out that starchy taste to it. So what I usually do is bring this up, and then I start just whisking it as the temperature slowly comes up. This is an experience for all of us because I haven't cooked on an electric stove for ever and a day. I'm used to fire and induction. So we're gonna try to bring these way up, get this heat way up. I like a real thick gravy, so I add a little bit more than what people normally add, just because I'm a saucier by trade, and I always feel like a sauce is a failure unless it's thick. The way you really test the thickness of your gravies is taking it on the spoon like that, and then you can see as it's running down how thick it is. I usually don't like it to move at all, but going over hot roast beef sandwiches tonight, this is going to be a perfect silky smooth consistency of sauce. Okay.
Ooh, look at all this good stuff.
Standing.
Labor of love, right, Matt, in the kitchen? What are you taking out there? There's your mashed potatoes, veg, roast beef,
Gravy,
homemade gravy, and then Mom's homemade bread.
Yep.
Top it all off.
Making a sandwich.
You gonna make a sandwich?
Yep.
All right, let's watch you build one real quick.
Simple. Just you're gonna need a little more of that. I guess I need a gravy spoon. I guess I don't have a gravy spoon.
There you go. Enough, huh?
Yep. So, you're only gonna need a little bit of this gravy because it's super rich. Yeah, there you go. I'm ready. I'm good.
What about the veg? You need your carrots, your eyeballs.
I do, but I'm gonna get it in a second.
All right.
When everybody sit down and start eating. Everybody's ready to eat.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching this vlog. Hopefully you're gonna go ahead and make something good this week. Try this recipe out.
All right, let's go. Let's eat, people.